hopefully, maybe some will come by and just give their views, and it will be as, whatever as this conversation was.
As pleasant as this conversation's been.
It might not. It's Portland.
I think you just shouldn't talk to them and ignore them because they're just pieces of
Oh, you're a idiot. You suck.
Hey, you guys, you can't...
Don't touch! Hey!
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. Today I'm at Portland State University, and I'm with the amazing billboard Chris and philosopher Peter Boghossian. We're going to be talking to people today about how children cannot consent to puberty blockers. Gentlemen, are you ready to get going?
I'm ready. I'm excited. Everyone has told me I'm crazy for coming here, that I might get myself killed. But I don't know. I've done this a lot. I just have conversations. I don't expect it to get too crazy, but we got security here today to protect us, and I'm looking forward to a good day of conversations.
Absolutely. Peter, what about you?
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to some conversations, and I hope people come with sincere, who want to know why Chris believes this. And I'd like to have that conversation about whether or not children can consent to puberty blockers. And I'm also willing, as I think you are, to listen to any evidence somebody presents or any argument someone presents.
Always, because that's how we learn.
Absolutely.
And we shouldn't have so much pride that we can't admit to being wrong. But so far, no one can even tell me what a transgender child is, so...
Well, we're going to have some great conversations today. Let's go talk to some people. What do you think about this sign? What are your thoughts about this? Do you agree with it at all, or what are your thoughts on this?
I think that kids don't have like the neurological development to be able to make a life-altering decision that will affect them like years down the line.
Yeah, we'll give you enough
So
room.
I for sure see both sides of the argument, because there are just overwhelming numbers of kids who do feel stuck.
I don't know. I think that like at a very young age, kids aren't certain of where they're at. It's such a time where you're trying to figure out who you are.
I'm more well versed in like testosterone replacement therapy and whatnot. I'm not so sure on like the estrogen and what that can do, but those things are like crucial when children develop. Just the fact that kids can get that nowadays, it's mind blowing.
They feel like they don't, the body that they're in doesn't match who they are, right? And then you have parents who are seeing a lot of kids in that situation commit suicide or have mental health issues, and they're like, I want to be there for my kid. If this is what they feel like is going to help them, if this is what they feel like is going to help them be more conducive in society, then like, let's take those steps. But at the same time, I do think that taking those steps at 7, 8, 9 is crazy young for anything.
So let me ask you a question before the conversation continues, if I may. So what year are you in and what's your major?
I am a senior. This is my last term.
Oh, it's your last
actually,
term.
here. Yeah, and business major.
Okay,
Data
so you
analytics.
probably don't have an opportunity to talk about a lot of these issues.
Within like a class setting or just
either
like...
one.
Yeah, not really.
You ever express those views on campus?
So I used to work here actually, and sometimes I would talk about my opinions and whatnot, and I was let go. I believed in free speech and whatnot, and I would talk about my views on fat acceptance and whatnot, and how I think that could be destructive to one's health to be accepting of an unhealthy state of body. I would have like conversations and whatnot, and eventually that I built like a reputation against me in a place that kind of has an agenda.
Can I address a couple things?
Sure.
One of the first things you said there was for these children who feel mismatched.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? What does that mean?
I can't say for certain. I can say what I think it means.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
Yeah, what do you think?
What I think it means is a kid, or let's say a girl, biological girl, really loves to do typical masculine things. Typical, right?
Like
She
play
likes
with
to
trucks or
wrestle,
something.
play with trucks. She likes to wear boys' clothes. She doesn't want to brush her hair. She keeps a dirty room. She likes watching wrestling, right? Typical boy stuff like that. And she might go to a school where they encourage her to do the girl type of things, like, oh no, the boys will clean up the chairs, or the boys will put the toys back in the box or stuff. And she's like, well, I want to do that. I can do that. And then maybe she feels that way for so long, where she's like, well, if this is what it means to be a boy, I feel better doing this way.
Okay,
That
so
maybe that's what that means.
you're right. This is what this whole ideology really hinges on. But these are stereotypes. These are regressive stereotypes. And I'm a bit older than you. I'm 47. When I grew up, we kind of got away from all these sexist regressive stereotypes, and our girls could be tomboys, and we told them they can be whatever they want to be when they grow up. And we got away from all this. And now it seems to have come full circle, where we're telling kids that just because they don't conform to society's standards of the stereotypical behaviors for their sex, that this must mean they're trans and they need to alter their body.
Did you have anything specific you wanted to throw out about it?
So what's going on here?
What's happening here?
Oh, I'm just taking a drink of water.
Oh, I see. So this is standard tactic. People just come and get in my face in order to stop conversation, because
We're having a
fascists like yourself think that conversations are evil, right? My philosophy is that there's no right way to be a boy or a girl. If a girl wants to climb trees and play in the dirt and have a dirty room, well, she's a beautiful girl. And I give talks and public speeches all the time, and I'll ask the women, you know, how many of you were tomboys growing up? And it's usually 50-50. And honestly, a lot of the time it's just more fun.
Yeah.
Climb trees and play in the dirt and throw around a football and all that stuff. But it doesn't mean you're any less of a girl. No matter how masculine a girl is, well, she's still a beautiful girl.
Right.
And I think that's the body positive message we should be sending. Instead, we're now stopping the physical development of children just because, what, stereotypes?
But what's going on nowadays is children are getting these they think that there's something they're not. And it's actually, a lot of it happens because the school systems that they're in, they bring these topics to them, and this wasn't around when I was growing up in the school system. It's something that's really new.
I think it could be a combination of stereotypes, and it could also be a combination of, like I said earlier, like the fear of like losing your child. Like your kid comes to you
Right.
and says, I'm depressed, I feel like I'm in the wrong body, you know, the typical dialogue that you see, and then next thing you know, you're planning a funeral. And you know,
So-
the suicide rate amongst teens from 13 to like 17 has gone up. I don't know the percentage exactly,
Yeah.
but it has gone up a lot. So I could see a parent wanting to maybe just preemptively like jump in on that. But then again, I do also think that there needs to be serious dialogue with like a medical professional.
My little sister, she's 12, and she's been told since she was in 4th grade that all these new gender ideas and whatnot, and now more than ever they're getting a lot more kids that are coming out and whatnot, and it's just they're children that are just being told these ideas, and now they're starting to believe it, and they can get hormones now.
And she goes to school in Oregon.
Yeah, she talks to me about all these things that happen, and you know, her friends getting hormones and whatnot, and it's crazy because men who are experiencing you know, the effects of low testosterone, in this world it's getting even harder for them to get testosterone replacement therapy, which, you know, for them who actually need it for a medical reason, you know, it's crazy how it's more difficult for them to get it than, you know, for children
That's
who are,
right.
you know what I mean?
That's right. Any girl can walk into a gender clinic and walk out that day with testosterone.
Don't touch me. Do not touch me.
So why are you so afraid of people
You
having
first
a
of all, you just
conversation?
touched me.
No, you touched me with that mic.
No, you touched my mic.
I was just- I was-
literally came up here.
You were behind me.
Do you mind
It's
getting
on
out of the
camera.
way of our
We're having a
conversation?
conversation here.
I do mind getting out of the way of your
So
conversation.
why are you
I
afraid
don't-
of conversation,
I
though?
don't give a about your conversation.
But why are you so afraid of people having one?
I'm not afraid.
Then why are you
Why are you
trying
trying to stop
one?
it?
I'm not trying to stop.
Well, sure you are.
You are shaking right now.
So if
too.
I move over here, you're not going to come
Why
and
do
follow
you?
me? Is
Why
that
do
what
you
you're
think
saying?
I'm? Why do you think I'm shaking? Very nerve-wracking.
Hey, could I ask you your statement? Why is it important for you to...
No, you can't ask me.
Well, no, I just want to know
No,
why-
no,
what you're
no. I'm just sitting here.
Well,
Of all the places
so if
you
I
just
move over
randomly
there-
came here.
If I move
Oh, he's
10
just
feet that way,
minding
you're
his
not going to
business.
follow
Let's
me?
go over here.
Yeah, there
no,
we go.
if he wants to
He's minding his
misbehave,
business.
if he wants to misbehave, we can move the conversation. That's fine.
Oh, I thought you were minding your business. How come you're moving?
Okay, so yeah, you don't believe that they can consent. Just to get us back on track here.
I just think it's like for children specifically, it's just like
No, that's all we're talking about. is
right.
children.
It's just too young. I think. Like I mean, I don't know. It's really hard because a lot of like parents seem to be pushing it at a certain level. I don't think that's like common, but I think there's like a small underlying like narcissism that kind of gets carried out for very specific cases where, you know, puberty blockers are kind of pushed on kids too young. Otherwise, I think it's just like a really weird time.
Excuse me, we're working on something.
Yeah.
Do you mind?
No,
Do you mind? You what?
Do mind.
You do mind?
Yeah.
I thought you were just minding your business.
Yeah.
I'm from I'm a trans refugee from West Virginia, y'all.
Yeah? What's
Y'all
trans
don't even.
about
A refugee?
What's trans about you?
What is trans?
Yeah. What is, are you saying you're a trans person?
What is trans about me?
All right, let's should we move?
Oh, okay. No, we're getting a display here. How about that?
Would you like to have a conversation with us?
Yeah.
Because it feels like
Really quick, I think you just shouldn't talk to them and ignore them because they're just pieces of who aren't gonna listen to you.
Well, that's not very nice to you. Nice of you to say.
it's because
Wait.
the that you promote ends up with people dying because of it.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Because
Okay, that's
yeah.
a
Let's-
big
let's
deal.
talk about
let's
that.
Just, let's discuss that.
Like because you promote like this hate towards people like me and other trans people, and trans people get murdered because of the hate against them. So it's not just like a free speech thing. It's
Do
that
you
you're
know what the murder
promoting-
rate of transgender people is?
What do you?
Oh my God,
Let's talk about that data because that's a claim that you'd make, and I'd like to explore that with you.
Okay, well, you know what? Off. Just off. This is
no.
harassment.
Okay, you
You're
made
making a
a
claim.
claim.
So
You
let's
made a
discuss
claim,
it.
and we'd like to.
I can't.
We'd like to.
You otherwise, so I'm just saying this should be considered.
Okay, so you have no evidence.
So my mom is a 60s baby. Her brother is born in the 50s. When the whole idea or the whole embodiment of like the trans community first became like a thing, you needed to actually be diagnosed by a medical professional with gender dysmorphia. Like it was like a real thing, and it's like, you know what?
So they didn't go to affirm, right? They didn't
No,
go when
they-
the kid came. They went to kind of explore.
And
with
it
the
wasn't
child
it wasn't
and-
like kids typically. It was, you know, like maybe 18, 19 and like up, when you could make your own medical decisions for yourself.
So, just so you know, I've been for more than 2.5 years now traveling around North America, having conversations just like this. I'm connected to lots of doctors and all the people kind of fighting this ideology. I've pretty much read all the major studies that there are to read. And I can't find evidence that suicides go up if we don't transition kids. Now, I know this is the #1 talking point, especially from the left. But there really isn't evidence for it. And we have this woman, her name's Laura Edwards Leeper. She worked at the Boston Children's Hospital Gender Clinic since 2006 when it opened. So for 15 years she worked there. She's quit now. But she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post last year where even she admitted she's not aware of any epidemic of suicides.
Right. No, and I'm not saying there's an
Yeah.
epidemic. There
But
are.
when it comes to the suicidality thing, I do agree that, you know, these kids, they do have higher suicidal ideation.
Right.
And we need to help
right.
these children.
Because it stems from depression. I'm not saying there's an epidemic,
Right.
but when you look at, you know, certain numbers of, you know, oh, this kid committed suicide, and then they look at the child's history, it's like, oh, well, they were having issues with gender
things.
conformity and stuff like that.
We have all of these identities that come along with being a man and a woman that society follows. That is gender ideology. Having any sort of things that have to come along with having, like being a man or a woman, is gender ideology.
Well, my position is that nothing should have to come along with that. That there's no right way to be a boy or girl, a man or a woman. That's my position. That
There's no right way.
There's no right way to be a boy or girl.
Okay.
There's no specific
I'm saying that
kind of follow up with
there's no
a
right way
male
to be
or
a boy or
female,
girl.
Then I think
But
being a boy and a
there's-
girl, you're saying how it's fluid,
But
and
you
so
are
that
saying
means
there's a
anyone
right way
could
to
be
be a
anything that
father.
they want. So if someone was born a female with like, you know how there's like the male and female when you're born.
Okay.
If someone decides, oh, you know, if they decide to transition, that's the fluidity of
Can
it.
I address that?
You're welcome to.
Sure. So, if a girl is more masculine, if she wants short hair and wants to wear pants and climb trees and play in the dirt and throw around a football,
Or wrestle or play with trucks.
guess what? She's a beautiful girl. That doesn't mean she's a boy. There's a really good article by a woman named Jamie Reed, and if you want, you can DM me on Twitter and I can send it to you or whatever. But this woman worked at the Washington University Transgender Clinic in St. Louis for the last 4 years, and she just wrote this piece in the Free Press, and she submitted an affidavit to the Missouri Attorney General. And almost all of these kids, virtually all of them, have some other mental health comorbidities going on.
there might have been abuse, there might have been trauma, there might have been sexual abuse. A lot of these girls and boys who've been sexually abused. I'll talk to you after.
I'm Lucifer, by the way.
All right, good stuff. Like girls who've been sexually abused, for example, this is the biggest trauma they've ever had in their life. They don't want to be a girl because that's, for them, the source of this abuse. And now you have this ideology coming along saying, well, you can just identify out of your sex. But these therapists and everything today, doctors at these gender clinics, they're not screening for trauma or abuse. They're not treating other mental health comorbidities. They just go straight to gender as though it's the underlying problem.
And to affirm, right? To immediately affirm. It's not to, like you said, with your mom born in the 60s. I'm older than Chris is. My name is Peter. I was born in 1966. And I've seen the changes and the process that they used to undergo. You have to have years of intensive, like what you started with the discussion about therapy. But the starting point was not, yes, you're correct, you were born in the wrong body. The starting point was, let's therapeutically explore this and have a conversation about it, and I will work with you and we will figure this out together. That's no longer the starting point.
What I'm saying
this gang
is,
of white dudes ganging up on people, like, just they're like, oh, tell us.
what you're
They're so
saying
evil.
is
Look at
if
their
a woman,
serious little
if
faces.
someone who's
We're trying to understand what she's saying.
You're not trying to understand you're gaslighting people and you're trying to get for your channel. Like, it's all just the same
We're literally having conversations.
How much y'all make off this?
You're
Y'all make
obviously
a lot
not
of money.
You're actually helping me a lot, so
Obviously,
please continue doing
You are
exactly what you're doing.
I'd actually prefer to
You're
get
actually
conversations
doing
over somebody
exactly
misbehaving, to be honest
what
with you.
the
I'd
internet
prefer to get
loves.
what
You're
you
gonna
have to
have so
say.
many-
Yeah, really quick, how do you feel about this behavior, what Peter's saying?
This behavior, I mean, I can't say that my first reaction wasn't very similar, or wouldn't have been similar.
So why are you not doing this and actually trying to have a conversation?
Because I believe that conversating does create a more constructive kind of argument, and like more people can learn things. My 2 cents on the matter is
please.
if because of how gender is in society and how important it is for some people don't feel comfortable being, with the gender that they're assigned at birth. Obviously. I think it's really important to let people identify the way that they want to, especially considering the weight that some of these identities have on certain people.
In this conversation, we're really focusing on children, how children cannot consent to puberty blockers.
It's more about the medical
when it comes to the medical side of things. Also, we're not out here talking about adults or anything like that.
Okay. No, it's strictly not adults.
Yeah,
It's
strictly,
children.
We're talking about children here.
And the medical
on
stuff.
the sign.
Right. So no matter what comes of like these conversations today, first of all, I really appreciate you having one.
Yeah.
Because I think with such an important issue where kids are being harmed, we should be able to talk about this.
Yeah.
But it seems we're not allowed to. And we're talking about stopping the development of children.
Yeah.
And we can't talk about this and look at all the
Yeah,
evidence.
we're talking about that. We're talking about cross-sex hormonals, and then we're talking about surgical procedures for these children. So I guess, like, really going back to it, we're talking about the worry of suicide or suicidality. Is affirming and going down that path really the answer for a child when their gender dysphoria could desist?
Yeah. So I don't have any kids. I have nieces and nephews that I care dearly about. So I can't say from like a parent's perspective. I can say though, and I have to get to class after this, but I can say though that I do believe that growth on both sides, from your side of the aisle and other people's side of the aisle, it stops when we can't have these conversations,
100%.
whether we agree or not.
Thoughts on that? Any happy medium there?
See how they're trapping you?
What do you think?
They're leading you down a hole.
It's called a conversation.
You're not having
as someone who
You're not.
As someone who was a child and didn't feel the need to be on puberty blockers, I don't feel like I have a place to say like how that might feel for a child who wants to get puberty blockers, or that decision as well. As someone who also like isn't a father either, like I'm 18. Yeah, that's my.
Why not wait till 18, 25?
I have no opinion on that.
What does it mean to be trans?
What does it mean to be trans?
I don't know. I've never
He's asking you.
can get an answer to that question.
I'm asking you.
Well, you just claimed you're trans.
I am trans.
And I'm asking you what that means.
What does it mean to you?
Well, I would tell you that transition is something
Don't
you do.
tell me. Wait, you don't tell anybody.
Okay, well, you asked what it means.
You literally just asked
So,
us to tell you what it means.
Transition is something
I'm
you
not
do,
asking
it's
you to
not
tell
something
me
you
what it
are.
means.
Well, no, you have the opportunity here to like educate a couple 100,000 people online about what it means to be trans.
Educate people online.
Educate people online about what?
Well,
why are you
what it is that makes
blocking
you trans.
this? Why are you blocking it? Why are you here? What message do you want to give people?
Okay, here's the message.
We're listening.
Y'all are a bunch of fascists using
Also.
transgender medicine as a spearhead for your fascist takeover of the country because you're patriarchal white supremacists, and this is just what it is, and y'all know what it is.
Why
And
are
this-
we're white supremacists? What is your evidence for even saying that, besides just
Well,
being
you're
a jerk to us?
White, right?
You're white.
And like white supremacy,
Are you a white
the
supremacist?
tip of the spear of white supremacy is anti-transgender
Oh.
discourse, right?
But we're trying to center the conversation on the front or the back of the board.
And I agree. I agree. You
You
guys are
agree-
doing
you
a good
agree
thing.
with this?
Yes. Yeah.
And why do you agree with it?
Yeah.
It's life. It's biology that you're a boy, you're a girl. It's that simple. And kids do not. You can't. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Keep going. Right, talk right through it.
So, as a kid, you cannot say that you want to have sex. You cannot say that you want to do marijuana. You cannot have
Buy a
alcohol until
gun.
you're 21. Buy a gun
Get a
until you're
tattoo.
21. Exactly. You can't do a lot of things until you're at the proper age and until your brain is functioning properly, or at a higher level, or however you say that. So, because of this, that means that kids cannot consent to this either. It's that simple. You can believe whatever you want. It doesn't change who you are biologically.
And your parents should obviously love you no matter what,
Yes.
and accept you for a beautiful boy or a beautiful girl,
Exactly.
as parents should.
Do you mind if I ask you? Do you express this viewpoint? Do you go to school here?
Yeah, I do.
Do you express this viewpoint here?
I can't.
You can't express the viewpoint at
No.
Portland State University. Why
I
not?
need to get a good grade. I need to get a good grade. And if I share this, I know that I will not get a good grade. So, especially in university studies classes, you cannot share any conservative views. It's that simple.
Oh, I don't
So,
consider that a conservative
yeah,
view.
this is-
I don't think it's
But-
not a conservative view
But
at
she's
all.
making a good point because the media has painted this as a conservative view.
Right.
Universities have painted this as a conservative view.
Exactly.
But there's nothing conservative about saying children are beautiful just as they are.
There are some things that you've said that I don't agree with, but that's your opinion. That's your idea of what you think is best, and
Like
that's.
what though?
Can
for
I
example?
grab just one example
yeah.
of what you're talking about there?
I don't think that it's always harm. I think that in some cases it really can be a life-saving decision. I do think that for some kids, for some teenagers, that this is wholly necessary. My baseline though is that it really should be left up to the parent, and parents don't, and I know this is like way on the other side. I know parents don't always make the best decisions, and there are cases that have shown that parents that transition their kids too early, their kids grow up with even more mental health issues. But I think bottom line, it should be the parents' decision. I don't think that it's always a harm. I think that
Should other things be parents' decisions too, like children getting tattoos or
everything-
like drinking, smoking?
yeah, I think
you know,
everything should be up to
age
the
of
parents.
consent.
I feel like unfortunately, like when the government steps in on a parent's job, other than like neglect, like kids not going to school, not eating, being dirty and stuff like that, I feel like it opens up a whole nother like Pandora's box of what it's possible for the government to do. That's just my
Right,
point
but
of view.
we don't live in like an anarchist
No, but
society.
it
You know what I
can-
mean?
It can lead to a slippery slope. Like,
But
okay,
should
if
13-year-olds be able to drink though?
no,
Perform surgical procedures, double mastectomies on little girls. I mean, that's just. I think 5 years ago that was just
And you'd be
what a sane person believes.
Yeah, and you'd be concerned if you voiced your opinion in class,
Yeah.
and negative grading or.
Mm-hmm. And just also other students attacking you for it. I mean, even here, there's the guy who was just singing just now. I couldn't even make a normal thought, you know.
I wouldn't say like let 13-year-olds off in like bars.
So they shouldn't get tattoos, drink. They shouldn't have sex, obviously, at 13. But they can change sex.
That's an American
buy a
ideology
gun
though.
as well.
But there are countries, developed countries around the world that let their kids drink, get tribal tattoos, have sex, get married, have kids.
I guess for this conversation, I guess we could just talk about the United States, although we could make it global. But
Yeah.
I guess for here,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have that here.
I would not let my 13-year-old get a tattoo or drink or.
But are
you
there
know,
crazy
have
parents out
sex.
there though?
Yes.
How do we protect kids against crazy parents?
I feel like that's where the doctors come in. I feel like before you sign your kid up for like hormones and stuff and whatever else, I feel like there needs to be at least a year's worth of like, hey, we went to this psychologist, we went to this medical health professional, and we've had all these meetings and all these councils and
I do
stuff
want
like
to
that.
say a very good argument could be made that that's not even close to the case today. There's, how many meetings before you can get on hormone blockers?
So here's the ideology,
would you disagree with how it is today?
No. I don't know what the process is because I don't have a trans child, or I don't have a child that's looking to transition. But I would hope that would be the process.
I'll give you a great example of the philosophy that now underpins this, and it's changed a lot even in recent years. So WPATH is the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. They write what are called the standards of care for these gender clinics to follow. They had their conference last September in Montreal, and during the initial speech, some protesters rushed the stage, and they were calling for the total abolition of all therapy completely. Now, this sounds radical to us, but what happened in that conference is they received a standing ovation, including from the president and the people who run WPATH, because the philosophy underpinning all of this is that you have a gender identity, and it may or may not coincide with your biological sex. Even suggesting therapy for your gender identity is to invalidate your gender identity, and it's sending this message that somehow you're wrong for having this gender identity, because otherwise why would you need therapy? So the push now is to get rid of all therapy completely.
I don't agree with
and that's
that.
what we end up with kids
you don't
getting
agree
puberty
with that,
blockers on their
then?
first appointment. What are you studying here?
Biology and Russian.
You can't express a biological opinion in a biology class without getting a bad grade.
I'm not taking biology, I'm taking chemistry right now. Biology's next term.
Sorry, that was my bad.
Sorry. Yeah.
So biology, but you can't have an opinion on biology at your college campus. I mean, are you close to graduating, or?
I'm first year.
You tell me about your position.
Sure.
Sure.
So transition is something you do, it's
gonna get
not
on the
something
other
you
side,
are,
yeah.
and it's never for kids.
Transition.
Kids don't need a chemical castration drug, opposite sex hormones, and surgeries to find their true self.
Nico, you want to?
Boys and girls are beautiful just as they are. So why should we be chemically castrating children?
Children can't
when
consent
their brains
to
are still
church.
developing?
Children can't consent
I
to
agree.
anything, like all these things.
I agree.
Yeah, but they're
So,
not giving chemical castration drugs at church, are they?
It's not chemical castration.
Really? Well, the endocrinologists say that it is.
It is not.
Well, of
You're
course
just
it
making
is.
this shit up.
So what is it if it's not chemical castration?
It's not for me to say. It's not for you to say.
Do you
It's
know the
between
scientific
children and
word
their
for these
doctors.
drugs? Do you know what they are?
Yo, I have a PhD. Like, I
Okay,
teach
so you
here
can
too.
tell me
Didn't
that.
you get fired here for this?
For your service.
Or do you still work here?
No,
Oh, so you did get fired here.
I resigned.
Oh, right. Yeah, you were forced to resign.
I'm not sure how that relates
I've
to
been
the
like
argument.
waiting to meet your ass.
Oh, good. Well, here I am.
Yeah.
Congrats. Would you like to talk to him?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
This is fun.
Okay.
So what do you think people are going to think when they see the video?
I don't give a what people think.
Well, we can, calm down. We can bring it down a little bit and have a
Calm down
conversation.
about
You should.
all y'all.
Do you think people are going to be convinced about your argument when they see
People
this
don't need to
as
con-
what Peter
we're-
was getting
we're
at?
well past being convinced, y'all.
Well, I mean, don't you want more people to agree with you so you can go about, transing
Don't
children?
you want people to agree with you? Isn't this why you have all this out here?
That's why we have conversations, because we get,
You're not having
allow the points to be.
conversations.
Yeah, we've had multiple since you showed up. You've actually been the first disruptor of conversations.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I just want to leave off by saying
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
talking
may
to
not
us.
100% agree, and I know this PSU is extremely liberal and progressive, so there's going to be a bunch of people that aren't going to agree, but I do think that like a step moving forward in either direction is for us to be able to have these conversations.
Last note real quick. So Portland State University explicitly put out a statement saying don't talk.
I saw.
You saw that.
Yeah. They
And-
wouldn't say who you guys were, but I've seen videos like, not you specifically, but videos like this on TikTok where it's like these controversial people, right wing, whatever they want to call you guys, come and have these controversial conversations, and how it looks on TikTok is like, oh, you're just here to like start.
How do you feel about the conversation?
It was chill. I think that everybody should come and have a conversation.
Hey,
Spread the
all
word.
right,
It
who's
doesn't-
next?
It doesn't have to be an
Spread the word.
argument. I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying, but it's an exchange of information between adults. Hopefully, maybe some will come by and just give their views, and it will be as whatever as this conversation
As
was. but
pleasant
it might-
as this conversation's
yeah,
been.
it might not. It's Portland.
Why can't you have a dialogue?
There's a
though?
lot of loving, kind-hearted people here.
Like you?
I don't get to talk to pieces
Are
of
you
shit
loving
every
and
day.
kind-hearted?
We have to import you, mother.
Are you loving and kind?
You.
Hey, you guys,
Don't touch me.
Don't touch. Don't touch. Hey!
So we have children cannot consent to puberty blockers. I want to know, do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Why or why not? Where you at?
Well, you know, I have my convictions on the matter.
Okay. Children cannot consent to puberty blockers. What do you think?
I strongly disagree.
I agree. You
You
guys
agree?
are doing
You
a good
agree
thing.
with this?
Yes. Yeah.
Just scientifically speaking, the mind is not fully developed until 25 years old.
Correct.
And so,
Decision-making aspect of your mind as well. Like that's a big factor there.
For sure.
It's biology that you're a boy, you're a girl. It's that simple.
I do. I beef you. Can you please get out of my face?
No,
I personally do appreciate what you guys are doing when fostering political discourse. Even if people disagree with you, I think it's good for the society to have good political discourse simply because it fosters people to think.
So you believe that they can consent?
Yes.
Okay, and why is that?
There are many medications that children can consent to taking that actually do have some long-term impacts and stuff like that. The exceptionalism of this one is actually completely engineered by people trying to push a specific social narrative of progressives essentially trying to entrap or convince people who don't want to actually affirm their gender identity to do it anyway, but that's really not what's happening.
I've already asked you guys questions.
Okay, all right. Hey, that's you're not allowed to just assault
That's
people.
assault. That's assault. Like
You're
by
not allowed to
100
just
video
assault people. You
cameras.
got to get out of here. Okay.
We have people trying to distract us. Let's try to talk right through it.
Yeah, we just gotta focus.
So you would actually agree with this sign? We're talking about children here specifically. You would agree more with the sign. Is that correct?
Well, I know I would couch it in terms of one is decision is dependent upon the development of the mind, and so it's wise to have everyone has a right to their decision, and scientifically speaking, one's mind is not fully developed until 25 years of age.
So I have a question for you,
Yes.
because you made this about medicine.
Yeah.
There are plenty of medicines for kids. Is puberty a medical condition?
It's a medical process. It's a biological process.
Puberty is a medical process?
I guess so. Sure.
How so?
It is biological, and what is the distinction you're trying to draw between biological and medical?
You want to hold the
puberty
phone
is-
up if you want.
Puberty is just a natural part of growing up. It's as natural as breathing or to have your heart beating. It's not something you consent to. The practice now in more than half the clinics is to give kids puberty blockers on the very first appointment.
What do you
And I'm
think
just
about
out here
that? You
having
disagree with that?
conversations to... Oh, thanks. Thank you very much.
Do you go to school here?
Yeah,
What do you think of this?
I think you have the right to ask questions, and I think it's not proper to touch on you, for sure. That's a fact. I think that the honest intellectual inquiry at a university should allow people to ask hard, difficult questions, and people should answer. I mean, it's just a form of intellectualism that is dying in the university. That's just a fact.
Yeah,
So
well said.
people should have the right to think well.
Why are you transferring out of the university?
First of all, I don't really fit in here. I have a bit of a different belief to other people, especially because I'm not either the particular right or the left. I believe in people believing what they want to believe, but I first and foremost believe in critical thinking.
When I do try and share my opinions or even questions, it can be difficult because there is no open-mindedness as people love to talk about in classes. So.
Oh, to be open-minded, but and yet a lot of people can't voice an opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to be in the picture with us? Come on in the picture.
This dude
I was just trying to get a picture.
This guy touched me.
It was just a
now.
little love.
Do not touch me.
It was
Do
just a
not
little
touch me.
I was just trying to get a picture with you.
I will defend myself.
Oh, okay.
By any whatever means necessary.
Yeah.
Do not touch me.
So is this the estrogen making you happy again?
Do not
Is that on right
touch
now?
me. Touch me again.
Is this the estrogen
Touch
making you
me
happy?
again.
You're showing a wonderful example to the whole world about how estrogen has made your life incredibly happier. We can see it's having remarkable effects on this individual here.
I think the bike is broken.
Sometimes I have people come up to me and they say, if children cannot consent to puberty blockers, how can they consent to puberty? But that makes no sense. This is just part of growing up.
Well, wait. I'd like to respond to that. So, say someone has like a disability, but there's treatment for that.
You guys like my socks?
Someone could have like a severe, debilitating like medical condition,
Calm down.
like a disability or something, and is it wrong inherently to get treatment for that? Is that unnatural?
So, puberty is not a medical condition.
We're trying to
I don't care.
Gender dysphoria is real, and these kids need to be helped.
Okay,
And
yes,
they should
thank
be
you.
helped So the way we should always phrase this, I think, is not in terms of trans kids, but children who have gender dysphoria, which is this intense loathing of their biological sex.
Okay, and do you
Now,
not think that
historically, we helped these kids with therapy, with watchful waiting.
So why do you think they don't just present their evidence?
Well, because here's the deal. Either they don't know how to do that, or they have no evidence, or they believe their emotion is enough for evidence. But in my field, how you feel does not make the equation true.
Don't you think part of a university education built into it should be showing that it's a virtue to change your mind on the basis of evidence?
Without a doubt. I mean, if they just were to read Socrates or the classics, which are slowly being eroded, that's exactly what we have. Yeah, it's a virtue to learn ideas or to use ideas to develop. My mind has been changed a bunch via the evidence. Why do they keep bothering you? I do not like that. That's, you know.
Hey, you guys, you can't.
Don't touch, don't touch. Hey, don't touch.
All right, hold on. Hold on. Well, no. Where's the phone? Where's the phone? Did you get the phone?
I got it.
All right. Hey,
This person
You're good.
on the bike has assaulted him.
The guy tried to steal my phone on the bike.
Twice,
and we have
actually.
it all
The guy
on
on the bike.
film.
Tossed it, took the phone, tossed it.
Took the phone. Before he could bike away, I grabbed him. Then he tossed it. So, all right. Thanks.
Thank you, officers.
Hey,
let's
go ahead,
have a
If you have
conversation.
to result to violence, you know, you don't have evidence. That's not okay.
Or disruption.
Or disruption. Just come calmly, give the evidence, refute it with integrity, and move on. It's very simple.
Look at all the historical studies into gender dysphoria. Kids from a young age all the way up into their 20s. Like if you look at the most recent study, they followed 139 boys with severe gender dysphoria. 87.8% of them grew out of it when they went through puberty, and 63.6% grew up to be gay. But today, we tell these kids that there's something wrong with them. We give them this abusive idea that there's such a thing as being born in the wrong body, which is psychologically abusive. And we don't give them a chance to grow out of this, to see their dysphoria desist. We put them on puberty blockers at the age of 10 or 11.
Right. So what do you think about that? Because if a majority are desisting, and you're in favor of this, isn't that a problem when the majority could just end up being gay?
Well, first of all, that minority actually definitely has a right to actually, like, their view is entirely affirmed because those puberty blockers truly did help them affirm who they are and who they are in their identity. Also, a lot of those people in that majority might have been dissuaded due to the intense systemic oppression of, like, gender diversity.
I have a question. What do you say to the gay people, like 25-year-old man who had sex reassignment surgery at the age of 18, but now has deep regrets because he realizes he was just gay?
We all make decisions we regret, and that shouldn't be prevented.
Well, come and have a conversation. There you go. Thank you. It's getting warm out here. Appreciate it.
Well, that's just how.
That's a great example of not having evidence.
So when you don't exactly right, Peter. When you don't have evidence, when you're not confident in the argument, your response to just a pretty basic claim is
to throw
assault.
water on someone.
Throw water on people, push them, shove them, disrupt, shut down conversations.
And also, I'd like to point out the distinction between puberty blockers and genital reassignment surgery, which the latter basically only happens after someone turns 18 or in
that's not true.
it is true.
Well,
or
Jazz
in
Jennings had a whole
very-
reality show about this where he was 17 when they did it.
There's adult mastectomies that are happening
I've
before
got the
age
doctor
of 18.
at Kaiser Permanente admitting they do this to 16-year-olds.
Yes,
but
in
I
very
agree.
rare
There's not
cases, and that's
I agree there aren't
exceedingly
a
rare
ton
and
of sex reassignment surgeries on children, but what there is a ton of going on is puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones.
And I want to just very clearly point out the distinction between those two different things. Don't conflate them. They are not the same level of severity or the same level of reversibility.
Well, stopping the development of a child is pretty insane. These boys, when they go on puberty blockers at 11, what these drugs do is they stop their genital growth, they stop their bone development, they stop girls' breasts from growing, they stop their hips from widening. These boys end up with a micro penis for life, and a lot of them would have just grown up to be gay. And if you look at the statistics from these gender clinics, half these kids are on the autism spectrum. So we're literally sterilizing autistic kids.
What? Okay.
Hey, you
I'm
know
not
what?
ignoring you. I literally can't hear you.
Thanks for your time. I'm
and
sorry
I am
about
deaf in
her
my left
doing that.
ear. I'm sorry. I hope you
Hey,
got it on film.
do not touch me. What are you doing? You're an adult. You don't shove people. We don't chance children.
we should
Like,
sterilize
I think you
autistic
should
kids?
Shut the up.
Do you think we should sterilize
You should shut
autistic
the
kids?
up.
Why are you so angry?
Because you're a idiot.
Why can't you have a
live in
dialogue,
Portland. There's
though?
a lot of loving, kind-hearted people here.
Like you?
I don't get to talk to pieces
Are
of
you
shit
loving
every
and
day.
kind-hearted?
We have to import you, mother.
Are you loving and kind?
You. You're a idiot.
You haven't even voted.
Suck. I don't need to. You guys need air for this to work. To get your clicks.
We're advocating for the cutting into children's bodies. Give us one argument.
Shut up. You're all
us one good argument.
No, shut the up.
One.
I don't want to argue with
Just
you.
name
I don't
one.
want to change your mind.
One reason
Your
for
mind
that.
has already been morphed.
Yes, sir.
Don't talk to this guy.
What's going on, man?
For safety purposes, I don't want to give away my identity. I hope that's okay.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't want to give out my identity.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
I agree with this.
So when you say for safety reasons, what do you think is going to happen if people know you agree with this?
I'm losing my scholarship, my internships, everything, man.
You think PSU will take
Yes,
away
they
your
will.
scholarships and your internships
Yes, they will.
if you agree with this?
Yeah.
So you're taking a bold risk here coming to talk to us.
Yes, I am. Yes, they will. They very much will.
Why
It
do you
is not a
feel-
false statement.
So you're taking a bold risk, but you still felt compelled to come and talk to us.
Yes.
Why do you feel so compelled?
I don't
want
want to be silenced anymore.
Good man.
I'm done.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts about people disrupting these conversations?
I mean,
Because like they just don't want it to be happening.
I mean, I'm saying, like, for example, if I was talking about LGBTQ, like the community, that wouldn't be nice or fair if they're speaking their views and their values and their like what they got going on.
Yeah.
So it's like it should be fair if like the same people that advocate for free speech.
Yeah.
Why can't you let someone ask normal questions? Like her touching you, why is that fair?
Yeah, she's been touching me the whole time.
Now it's roles were reversed, and if it was a woman, that's gonna be completely different.
The whole idea of a university traditionally is to engage, to debate, to maybe change your mind. I mean, if everybody came out with the same idea that they walked in with 4 years ago, I don't know what kind of education that would be.
Easy, thanks.
That was rude.
That's really interesting. So this is what you do when you can't have when you don't want to have a conversation. So this is very Portland State, right? Yeah. So I say it's very Portland State because I recognize it. What do you recognize about that behavior as Portland State?
They don't want you to talk about things that they don't agree with. They consider free speech to be what they believe in, and that's it. That's the only free speech that you're allowed to say is what you agree with them.
It's an institution-supported narrative and nothing outside of that frame.
That's how I feel, at least.
We live in a country where the First Amendment states freedom of speech is for everybody, regardless of who you identify as, regardless of what you look like, anything. And I feel like this has gone way too one-sided, and I don't want to stand for that anymore. We should love each other and be unified instead of hating on one another for what we think. Diversity, inclusion. If I'm being hated on for wearing this, that is not inclusion. Diversity.
I know two other people who share my views, and we're both quiet about it. We don't share our views because we know that the teacher is not going to support us. And even if the teacher doesn't support us, that's fine. We know that there's 30 other students around us who don't support us either.
So when someone attempts to take away your voice, like this person is doing to my right, and create an unsafe environment, how does that make you feel?
Scared. I like I said, I don't know how this is going to play out, and I don't know if I should just go home. So.
I'm genuinely sorry about that. I'm genuinely sorry.
For being brave.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this.
Really sorry to hear that, and thank you. I think on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for speaking with us. That was amazing stuff.
Again, thank you so much for doing all of this.
I really appreciate
it.
Okay, all right, you can.
Go home yet, but-
Awesome. You can hang out as long as you want. All right.
Obviously, you are not oppressed for wearing a cross, and you are claiming that you will lose your scholarship if you agree with this
Hold
statement.
on, you're denying his lived experience right now.
No, I am not. I'm not denying.
That's what you just
What gives
did.
you? Why are you denying that? Like, what's your basis for denying that?
What am I denying exactly?
You just
Literally
told him
just
he's not
You
oppressed.
literally just told him that, like, literally
Okay,
5 seconds
oppression.
ago.
Okay, oppression is a systemic injustice. There is no deliberate
Okay,
mechanism
there we go.
of systemic
Oppression is
injustice.
systemic injustice, right? So why, every time I come here, I get weird looks for wearing this? I can't speak my mind about me being pro-life. I'm a proud Catholic. Why? I'm going to have so many of this campus students on me saying I shouldn't say anything about women's bodies because I'm a man.
You know what? I will backpedal and say that if people are giving you weird looks for wearing a cross, then that is.
No. Listen, that's not the point. The point is, I shouldn't be silenced for believing in what and speaking my mind. You may have your own opinions, and I will not disrespect you or hate you for it.
But, okay, so let's get back to this. We're talking about puberty blockers, young boys that enter, puberty blockers from the age of 12 to 17, end up with a micro penis for life, losing future sexual function. You believe that that's okay. Let's get back into that. Why is that okay?
First of all, puberty blockers do not make someone lose sexual function for life. That would actually be hormone therapy.
Okay, so I can show you a video right now from the president of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. I'll show it to you on my phone. This man identifies as a woman. He admits in a video that none of the boys who started puberty blockers at Tanner stage 2 have been able to have an orgasm as an adult.
Children have the cognitive ability to make that decision for themselves?
Okay, well, I'm not familiar with the study you're talking about, nor the validity of it.
Do you think you could be
I can show it to
factually
you,
incorrect about that? Is it possible that you're factually incorrect? Is it possible that you don't have all the data to warrant justification in the belief you hold?
It
Is that
just
possible?
as possible as it is that you were wrong.
Okay,
But
I can show you the video if you like. Should we watch it? You want to see it?
I'm not particularly interested.
Okay.
I would also be interested, though, in where that data is.
And we could,
send it to you. You could look at it yourself.
President of WPATH. It's the body who write the standards of care for all these gender clinics. It's the top body in the world.
You want that information so we can send it to you, or you want to give us your email?
I don't particularly.
Okay, then don't.
What do you think of the culture here, where these students aren't going to be censured for trying to shut down conversation? A lot of them are going to be rewarded. The professors are going to tell them a great job. All these universities across the Western world are doing away with the liberal values of conversation in favor of censorship. Don't you think part of this environment we see today is the responsibility of the university itself? Because they're creating this environment where kids think this is the way to go.
Well, they're not valuing conversation. They're not showing it modeled.
Yeah.
Disappointed that we have to resort to these antics. I think that if you disagree, you should come and present your evidence on the matter.
Yes. Show me how your idea is better than mine.
Right.
You go to school here?
Yeah, I do.
Is this behavior rewarded here, or at least?
I'm a freshman, so I don't know, and I respect everybody and their beliefs and their whatever it is. I'm Muslim, so it's kind of different. But at the same time, why if they can live their life the way they're doing it, why can't you live yours by asking these questions? I mean, there are questions that have to be asked. Even if I disagree with you, I can disagree. I'm not physically hurting you. I'm not there's no pain coming towards you. It's just the word of mouth.
Their brain is not fully developed to make a life-altering decision. What do you think?
Well, I think that it's not your business. It doesn't directly affect you unless you do.
It directly affects the child. I mean, it'd be just as much as a culture's business is like child abuse.
Sure.
And when it comes to this, I feel like kids can't really decide for themselves. You don't let a kid drink alcohol or smoke drugs or whatever it is until of a certain age. Like, for example, you don't in America, I think you can't drink alcohol till you're 21. There's a reason for that, because or even smoking weed, that kills your brain cells. And imagine if you're at a younger age doing that or smoking cigarettes, you're harming your lungs from early.
They can't go see rated R movies. They can't drink. They can't get a tattoo, but they can make permanent decisions that will impact their life.
Absolutely. It's not your business.
It's not your business.
No, it's not yours.
Is it your business then?
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you for your time.
That's a good way to finish it.
Thank you for your time.
Kids aren't getting puberty blockers? What is not happening that
I'm
he's
not putting
claiming?
myself on this platform. You guys are idiot losers.
Well,
Goodbye.
you just put yourself on.
You're the one inserting yourself into the platform.
Is that the best argument you can marshal?
What's going on, everyone? James Klug here. Today we are at University of Oregon, and we are going to be attempting to talk to students about how children cannot consent to puberty blockers. Now, I'm joined here by the amazing Billboard Chris and Peter Bogosian. Gentlemen, are you guys ready to go talk to some people?
I'm ready to rock it. Let's do it.
Never been more ready.
Let's go talk to some people. Is this that controversial of a thing to say? I mean, that children, 10-year-olds, cannot... Yeah.
It's that basic.
I just don't necessarily agree with that.
Nah, I don't even know what that means.
You don't even know what that means.
You can think what you think, they can think what you... It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Incredibly reasonable position to have when it comes to people having different opinions. Okay.
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
That we shouldn't do that to kids, or we should?
Yeah, I think that you shouldn't be with your body like that
Yeah.
until you're an adult.
Yeah. That seems like a pretty fair stance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel like denying trans people life-saving care is a kind of rude thing to do.
Life-saving care?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so denying trans people their life-saving care is a rude thing to do.
Do you think it saves kids' lives to stop their bodies from going through puberty?
I think it does.
How come?
Because there's studies showing that, like, people who transition, who are pre-transitioning, how do I explain this?
It's okay, take your time. No pressure.
Hey, what's up?
Children cannot consent to puberty blockers. Well, why do you think they can't?
Well, because they're 10 years old. I mean, they still believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. And we're giving them an experimental drug which has never been approved for this purpose. It's actually a cancer drug that was approved for prostate cancer, for endometriosis in women. Same drug has been given to pedophiles to chemically castrate them because it takes their testosterone to zero. They give them a drug, it's normally a drug called Lupron, and it stops their bodies from going into puberty. So girls' breasts won't grow, their hips don't get wider, boys' penises don't grow. It affects their bone density, it affects all sorts of things. But we're stopping the physical development of children. Based on what? Based on a belief that because they don't conform to society's standards of how they should stereotypically be according to their sex, that this therefore means they are born in the wrong body. What does that even mean?
Well, it just has to do with your identity and who you are. You know, isn't like the
So what does that mean, though?
What do you mean? Like the whole point of being who you are isn't like part of what our country stands for?
Do you think there's a right or a wrong answer to that question?
I don't think so. I think that sometimes it all depends on your stance. It depends on how your life is going, I guess. Like, we're all living our own separate life.
There's a conversation.
How your life is going at like 10 years old?
I don't know. It's such. Everything is kind of controversial nowadays, so it's hard to talk about things.
What does it mean, be who you are?
You be what you want to be. Be what your identity tells you to do. Be what your mind wants to be.
You know, and I think a lot of people would understand that if you were talking about adults. You are talking about children here. Children can't just go out and get tattoos. They can't go drink. They can't go, hook up with an older adult. They can't even go see rated R movies, but we're talking about irreversible procedures that they can do?
They're sterilizing kids. They're
So
cutting
aren't
off
there,
the body
aren't there
parts of
rules for children?
Well, yeah, I would say that there are definitely rules that protect them.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay, so we got that going.
Yeah.
Like these kids, for the boys in particular, the president of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, these are the people who write the standards of care for the gender clinics.
Yeah.
He admits in a video, his name's Marcy Bowers, that literally 0 of these boys as adults have been able to have an orgasm. We're turning these kids into anorgasmic, lifelong medical patients, sterilized, and calling this love and inclusion, when we know historically from all the academic studies that have ever been done into this condition called gender dysphoria. That's what this is called, when these kids feel a mismatch between their sex and their inner gender identity. It's called gender dysphoria. We know historically that if you just let kids go through puberty, more than 80% of the time they just grow out of it. They don't even know what sex is. How can they possibly consent to throwing away adult sexual function, to sterilizing themselves, to not having a family? They're 10, 11, 12.
Well, yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about what he's saying?
Excuse my language, but I actually think it's crazy. I didn't know any about this. I didn't know anything about it. It just came out the way right now, the way everything is happening. I just think it's kind of crazy because a lot of things happen in this world that just don't make sense. But I've never heard too much about this until right now.
Would you like to participate?
Not necessarily. Are you having a conversation with him disagreeing?
No, he agrees, of course, because he's a sane human being.
Okay. Just to give you a heads up.
So she's come here to tell you that you shouldn't talk to me because what's going on in America today is illiberal people like this woman here think that you shouldn't be allowed to have a conversation about child harm. So she's come here to tell you to make sure that you're feeling safe. She doesn't even believe that you can possibly agree that we shouldn't be mutilating children because she thinks it's totally fine to mutilate and sterilize children. And she's come here to tell you that you shouldn't be talking to me because I'm spreading.
Oh, are you actually trying to shut down the conversation?
I was just wanting to say that oftentimes when organizations have cameras, they usually edit videos in a way that it may not be favorable to you.
So it is true.
So it is true. You're coming over here to shut down conversation.
Yeah, it is
obviously.
true. So why don't you just be honest and say it's true?
Oh, I just don't want to contribute money to an organization that profits off of social media engagement.
Oh, I'm not an
based upon
organization.
influence.
I'm just a person having conversations.
I would argue what's happening here is much more important than being a more authoritarian stance of shutting down conversation on a place that actually open dialogue should be encouraged. So I would say what you're doing here is much worse than
And it's
having a
dishonest.
conversation
It's
in public.
dishonest.
It's
You
incredibly
should just say,
dishonest.
we don't want him to talk to people.
Yeah. If you disagree with this, you can
Yeah,
you can
we
let
can
us
have a
know, and you
conversation
can
about
join
this.
the conversation, or you can let somebody else actually exercise their freedom of speech.
How would you define open dialogue?
Open dialogue is allowing you to speak your mind. If you want to give us your opinion on this and have a conversation with us, that's excellent. And we're going to have a respectful conversation, no personal attacks, and definitely no shutting down of somebody else's voice,
And you
especially
have hundreds
interrupting
of-
him to shut down the conversation.
Do you think we should be sterilizing kids though? What about kids with autism? Because half these kids have autism who are going to
I don't know.
the clinic.
It's hard because.
What is hard about that question?
What's hard about
Well,
it?
yeah. If you know, and there's no tricks here. Like, what is hard about what he's saying there?
With
What do you
with the
consider a kid?
emphasis
Just someone
on the
under
first
18?
word.
Yeah.
Under 18?
Yes.
Like
let's
a 12.
use
Let's
12.
let's say a 12-year-old.
12. I mean, they're children, so I
Correct.
don't know.
They're
It's
just
hard.
little.
It's hard to put a number on what you could do. You know?
Okay.
Because like 18, you're an adult and you
right.
can
But
do
that's
whatever
not
you
what
want.
he's saying.
Right.
Yeah, 18, you're an adult.
Yeah, they
you know.
start kids on puberty blockers at like 10, 11, 12.
There are studies showing that children who are unable to transition, and keep in mind, most of the time they're not being given hormones at 13. They're given puberty blockers to stop them from going through what they feel is the wrong puberty.
Okay.
And their experience I don't want to have this conversation.
No. You're
Okay.
you're
doing
onto
great.
something. You want him to take it, or
I mean, I'm going to be late to class.
Great,
That
you
you
did
can
great.
come here and tell people not to talk. You don't find that to be a problem.
Did I say you couldn't talk?
No, but think about what you said and how dishonest it was.
I didn't say that exact thing.
don't
I was
think
just trying to
said
shut down the
something. I
conversation.
feel like I asked a question.
Nah, it was a disingenuous. And
Yeah, it was
looking
just
to
that
shut down
Andy
conversation and
went
get him
over to
away
him.
from
Now,
having a
but if you
conversation.
want to talk about that, we will
actually what
engage
you're
you
doing.
in good
I'm sorry
faith.
that you feel that way.
No,
It's
what
not
you're
about
doing.
anybody feeling it. That's what you're doing.
So I wanted to ask you, are you comfortable if I ask you about your dissertation work? That's not a rhetorical question, that's a serious question.
I'm gonna move away from this. You can entertain her if you'd like.
The body positive message we should be sending is that there's no right way to be a boy or a girl.
Okay, I can understand that.
Right?
Yeah, I
everyone
can
gets that.
understand
So can we possibly get you to jump on over to saying that this should be something for when your brain is a little bit more developed? Your prefrontal cortex, your decision-making part of your brain is more developed instead of 10 years old?
I just think it's a hard thing for me to say because I'm not part of that
Okay.
situation. I do think I'm all for the rights of transgender people, and no matter what you are.
We're all for the rights of
I
all
understand
people.
that. I understand that 10 years old can be a little young, and maybe you should have more of a developed brain.
I think with situations as serious as, medical, drugs, hormones, procedures on children, I think we should be able to have conversations about this. Just calm, fact-based, rational conversations, because there's nothing more important than our kids. So if you want to take some time to think about it and come back, you'd be more than welcome. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Is that cool?
I mean, as I speak from personal experience, I'm trans.
Okay.
I've transmasculine. Most people wouldn't think it looking at me. I've been on testosterone for 5 months as of Saturday. I feel so much happier with myself. And I started shortly after, I'm about to turn 19.
Okay.
I started December of last year. But I didn't start hormones until I was an adult, but I knew that I was not a cis woman by the time I was in middle school.
May I ask what that means, to know that you're not a cis woman? I understand the jargon, but what does it mean to know that you're not a girl?
I felt uncomfortable with the labels of femininity being pushed on me. And, I think in the recent years, there's been a lot more ability to verbalize that kind of stuff. I mean, when I was in middle school, that was 2016 for me. We weren't having all these sorts of conversations.
Right.
my partner is not trans, but they're
non-binary.
Non-binary.
Okay.
And so, they thought about going on hormone blockers to, cancel out some female traits. Back in middle school, they were having the thoughts of dressing more masculine and stuff. So what if they wanted to get on? Their parents aren't very good parents. They kicked them out the house and left them on the street. So how about that? What if the parents aren't involved in their own life?
So
Do they have their own choice?
I'm very glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because what we find almost invariably
Great question, by the
is that these kids have suffered trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so your partner should have been treated, and I hope they are still maybe getting treated for this trauma.
Yeah.
But what happens in so many cases is these traumatized or abused children are just getting puberty blocking drugs, cross-sex hormones, as though that's the source of their problems, not the trauma. That's not going to do anything to fix the trauma.
Yeah.
We need to address that and let these kids grow up and take care of these other mental health problems, abuse, trauma. That's not controversial. It shouldn't be. But instead, we're treating gender as though it's the source of all their problems and to solve everything, and that doesn't work.
Yeah. So do you think that they, as a child, if they wanted to, they could get it? And then if it's a bad choice later in life, they would understand and maybe change back? I know that there'd be some consequences with
What do you think the consequences would be?
Yeah. If they decide, if they're not non-binary, but they want to be transgender, and they have to go through further evaluation to see if they want to be, go through a process.
Physical consequences though?
Yeah,
like
physical consequences.
So historically, most kids with gender dysphoria, which is how we should always frame this, most of them grow up and out of it.
Yeah.
The cure for gender dysphoria in almost all cases is puberty itself. Now we block the cure. So I don't think children are mature enough, cognitively developed enough. Our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for logical decision making, keeps developing until we're about 25.
Yeah.
So I don't think a 12, 13, 15-year-old is competent to make decisions about their own sterilization, about destroying their future adult sexual function, because that happens to the boys especially.
Do
to
you
not being able to have a family.
Well, what about
really quick, do you think that they're capable of making that decision that he's talking about
That's
right
just
there?
their decision. It's just their decision. I don't think they're there can always be doubt.
So children just make the decision about what else do they make the decision
You
about?
don't let them take drugs, right?
No, but they can. They can if they would like to.
In Oregon right now, they're about to pass a law where any 15-year-old can get gender surgery even without parental approval.
Yeah. Should it be that easy?
Well,
just with what he's saying right there, should it be that easy?
I'm not sure if it should be that easy, but I do think ultimately it should be up to the choice of the child.
Do you hold that viewpoint for every other aspect of childhood when it comes to tattoos?
I want to say that.
Why would you not say that? With let's say tattoos, would you say?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's just I had to think about that.
Okay, that's okay.
That's a fair statement.
That's very reasonable. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, we don't want to put you on the spot here. We're talking about new concepts and new information, so it's just great to have an open mind to think about this.
Yeah.
And really what we want to achieve here is to start conversations.
I don't know is a great answer.
Yeah.
It's always a
Right,
good
and
answer.
that's why
100%.
everyone's responding that way, because you're at least saying, hey, you know what, I don't know,
Open
I
to
can think about that,
consider,
and that is absolutely okay.
If I may overshare, I have someone in my family who's young, who has a tattoo, who tattooed herself. I don't know what they call it, the prison tat kind of thing.
Stick and poke.
Stick and poke, yeah, that's what it is. And she,
I don't have one.
she regrets having done that. And so if she regrets having done that, it's reasonable to assume that if you're young and you make decisions that have permanent consequences, that they may regret other decisions that they've had.
Yeah.
Now, as you get older, that becomes quite different because your brain, your frontal lobe is formed, and your decision-making process ideally would be more refined.
Did you thought something he was saying was funny? Do you mind if I ask you? And I'll get back to you.
The
okay?
tattoo, like him relating the tattoo to the gender stuff. That was, I don't know, that was kind of funny to me.
Why was that funny?
Because it's a tattoo. It lasts forever. Like we all have, but how are you gonna compare a tattoo to puberty blockers?
You can't.
Yeah, so that's why I was laughing, because it didn't really make sense when you were saying it.
Yeah.
Which one is more permanent, would you say?
I mean, obviously the puberty blockers.
Right.
You can get this removed.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
right.
Like it's not that hard.
James, I think.
Yeah, that was
you
my
guys
question.
are just sick, disgusting trash. I'm not gonna humor you.
You're humoring us right now.
Right in the
All right. Yeah, that's great.
I thought I saw you guys on YouTube before, right?
Is that the best argument that you can make? Is that the best reason you can give?
I believe in human rights. You guys are f***ing fascists.
How so?
How
Yeah.
so?
Bro is another definition.
All right.
Isn't a
No,
key
he
point of
doesn't.
fascism shutting
How's it going,
down
man?
open debate?
Doing good.
Good to
I've
meet
seen
you.
you guys online before.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I support what you guys are
What's
doing,
up, man?
especially on this campus. Y'all are brave.
So
That's
this
their
is a thing going on in society today where more and more adults are giving children agency over all of their decisions. But it's neglecting this most fundamental truth, which is that children need parents
Yeah, that's
for a
no
reason.
doubt.
And they cannot make all these decisions because of the very fact that they're children.
Would you have the same opinion about, let's say, a 15-year-old girl was like, hey, you know what? I actually want, let's say, liposuction for, maybe they're anorexic or something. You want to affirm them, you get them liposuction, or let's say you get them lip filler, or let's say you get some other body modification. Children should be able to make that decision. Is that correct?
Is
So
this like?
children are making
Is
that
this
decision?
are you guys trying to do like law based? Like, are you trying to like make it like where the parents have the decision to allow them
we're
to
more
do it?
talking. I guess we would be more talking about like what should be allowed
Really, I'm just
under law.
talking
but
philosophically about the whole thing.
It's a moral claim.
it's a
Yes.
moral claim. It's a,
Now-
yeah.
And from that, the legal stuff flows.
Yeah, and ideally, I would like the medical bodies, the American Academy of Pediatrics, to conduct a systematic review because they're not listening to their own doctors within their body. There's, I think, there's a few 100,000 pediatricians, part of the AAP, and a lot of the doctors are asking them to do a review, and they won't. And other medical bodies around the world have, and they found that there's no evidence to support this. But this whole subject of giving agency to children, we would never say a 13-year-old can consent to sex with a 40-year-old because they just can't. They don't understand what they're signing up for.
Yeah.
But we say they can consent to changing their sex.
I understand where you're coming
You know?
from. Yeah.
Like, if you talk to most 20-year-old women and you say, hey, do you want to have kids? They go, no way. Fast forward 10 years, they're 30 years old, and the ultimatum for the husband is babies or divorce, because now they want kids. We change. We change from 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 30 drastically. You're about 20 years old.
Yeah.
Are you different than when you were 10?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And what sort of wisdom did you have when you were 10?
I wouldn't say a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. Your job has been going to school and learning your timetables. And most kids at 10 don't even know their timetables. But now we're asking them to be able to consent to lifelong medical decisions and becoming a lifelong pharmaceutical patient as well. Because what happens to these kids is they have to rely on external sources of hormones for the rest of their life. These girls are getting hysterectomies, they're getting their ovaries cut out as well. Now they can't even produce estrogen if they want to. So if they, at 25 years of age, at the ripe old age of 25, if they decided they've made a mistake, they've lost their womb, they've lost their ovaries, they can't produce estrogen. So now they're buying some exogenous source of estrogen for the rest of their life. For these boys who get these surgeries done, these vaginoplasties they're called, they have to dilate for the rest of their life and take estrogen. These are not the kids who are thriving, these aren't the college quarterbacks and the cheerleaders and whatever. These are kids who are struggling in life. They're kids in foster care, they're kids with autism, their parents are 10 times as likely to have been sex offenders statistically. And now we just fast track them into this medical pathway without any FDA approval for any of it. It's just all ideological. And again, it goes back to this basic philosophy of you were born in the wrong body because you don't conform to stereotypes.
Do you learn about this in your classes?
Out of the ones I'm taking.
But there are options at the university where you'd be able to learn about things.
Do you hear about it on campus? You guys hear about it on campus in other ways to a certain extent, or no?
I think to a certain extent.
Okay.
I mean, not like all the time. I mean, maybe if you go like looking for it, but it's not hard to find. I mean, we go to the UofO. We're like let's be real. Like we're pretty. How do you call it? Like.
Pretty left-leaning university.
Yeah, we're a pretty left university. I feel.
Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm just a big fan. So thank you guys for doing all that.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I get a photo?
We're doing the black camera.
You want to have a conversation?
You want to have a conversation about it and explain yourself?
It's just so interesting that people will say, get a life, losers, you, fascists, but the same people won't present their argument.
Never.
It's fascinating. He's calling us fascists, but yet he's involved.
Die, you rednecks. Why don't you quit being such a waste of oxygen?
Oh, you were the same person that ran away.
Why don't you present
You
your
want to have a
argument? We'll
conversation
listen
and
to what
present
you have to
your
say.
information?
Because I'm not going to give a platform to you Nazis. Why don't you go home?
You can't explain
and
your
quit being
position?
such losers. My position is I care about human rights and I care about people living their lives and minding their own business and not being in my face with stupid cameras. So,
But you walked over here.
We can bring down the volume a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't care. I am
we're gonna
trying
be
to make a
respectful to you.
scene because you guys
Can I
care
ask
about
you a couple
genociding
questions?
trans people.
That's
no,
not it.
you're not gonna ask me
Genociding? What
Do you think it's okay to
constitutes a
sterilize
genocide?
children?
What are you talking about?
None of this is actually happening. You guys are
Really?
dumb.
Really?
You're cherry
Kids,
picking.
kids aren't getting puberty blockers. What is not happening that
I'm
he's
not putting
claiming?
myself on this platform. You guys are idiot losers.
Well, you
Goodbye.
just put yourself on.
You're the one inserting yourself into the platform.
Is that the best argument you can marshal?
It is. It's the best one.
I don't know how many people will be convinced.
He said that's not happening.
Right.
So this is the case with almost all these people. They don't believe these things are happening because they've done no research. They've only heard this surface level thing that this is about human rights and we need to let people be who they really are. They don't believe surgeries are happening on kids.
They don't believe surgeries. And
They don't believe they're getting sterilized. They don't know anything about it. They think I'm making stuff up.
So the problem with not wanting to have a conversation is you have to just guess what they think. That's the problem with not having a conversation.
What do you think when you're seeing this? We're getting some pushback, but not much.
I mean, yeah. I mean, most people are pretty open to this discussion and civil dialogue here.
That's
I mean,
good.
you're going to have some people a little more on the left and even on the far right here. But as long as you keep pretty good civil dialogue, I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it.
So you're a political science major, and do issues of gender ever come up in your classes?
I mean, yes, less so than most people would think, especially at this kind of university.
Okay.
I mean, this whole idea of like gender construct and the fight over like, puberty blockers, trans and LGBTQ rights within schools are relatively new.
When it comes to this debate at all, are you at all open about your opinions on this on campus? And
Yeah,
if
I'm
so,
definitely
is it
open
pretty
about it. Yeah.
Well received?
Yeah, I definitely believe sexual education. For example, people will say don't say gay bill, but it's really just a bill that introduced in Florida that kind of limits, sexual teaching or teaching about gender.
Parental rights and education.
Yeah, basically, I think when it comes to like introducing like gender or sexuality, that's something that should be really taught towards people going through puberty. I mean, we have sex ed in middle school, and I think that's a good time to teach it. I don't like seeing like 5-year-olds or even people in kindergarten, first grade being taught this because these people don't even know what sex is. They're not able to understand sexual attraction at that time. That's way too young.
I'm going to change the subject if that's okay. What year are you in?
I'm in my final year.
Oh, okay. So you're a seasoned political scientist.
I would say I'm pretty good at political science myself.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So we were just called fascists, and I was wondering. I want to take advantage of his expertise. What does that mean that he's a Is this what?
So
can you explain that?
Yeah.
using
So
your
as
expertise.
that kid was walking away, he yelled, "You guys are a fascist!" And I even mentioned, I was like, clearly he does not know the definition of fascism. Fascism is silencing political opponents or silencing political debate. If this person's over here yelling at you all saying, "You guys can't be on campus, get off our campus, we don't want to hear what you have to say," that's more fascist than someone saying, "Hey, I want to have open civil dialogue." This right here is a clear example of a political right, political discussion. This is something that's protected within our Constitution, and it should be protected and encouraged on campuses.
So when he's screaming at us that he's a fascist and we need to get off campus, is it reasonable to say that he's the fascist or he's supporting the fascist ideology?
I mean, by definition, he was a little more fascist than you guys. Fascist ideology is trying to silence political opponents.
They're kids.
I do. I understand your guys' point.
They're little. My 11-year-old, I'm not sure. Maybe she still believes in Santa Claus. She's just little. She's tiny. She doesn't know any adult stuff. And now if someone were to indoctrinate her to think that she's a boy just because maybe she's more masculine and give her this experimental drug that would stop her body from developing? For the first time in human history, we're doing this to kids. Kids have been growing up for 200,000 years on this planet, that humans have been in existence. And whether you believe in God or evolution, this makes no sense, because if you believe in God, this ideology teaches that God made us wrong. And if you believe in evolution, this ideology is essentially saying that a billion years of the process of natural selection has failed. And for the first time in human history, we need a pharmaceutical company to help our children be who they really are. We've been going through puberty for millennia without killing ourselves. But now a lot of these young people think that puberty is a medical condition and you can go through the wrong puberty just because your body's developing. This is cult-like thinking. And at its base, this ideology is a lie because there's no right way to be a boy or a girl. But this ideology teaches that stereotypes determine what your gender is. Instead of saying, be gender nonconforming, beautiful. What's wrong with that?
You guys, I'm going to do him a favor.
Yeah.
He's trying to get to class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to us, man.
we
Thanks.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Children know a lot better than we give them credit for.
Okay. Well, I know you got to go to class. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk. I wish nothing but love and a long, fulfilling, happy life for you, and I thank you for taking the time to talk. We're going to be here in an hour if you want to continue it. But I think the most important thing out of all of this is that we should be able to have civil dialogue about this issue because it is a very important one. So I just really want to thank you for having it.
Good job.
What do you think is driving that behavior?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Okay, I'm
Because
gonna be real with you all.
it's not isolated.
Yeah,
This is very
especially
common.
among this generation, we've seen an introduction. I mean, we're the first generation that's completely raised within a digital age. We have a crazy influence when it comes to social media, and I think social media has contributed to a very strong mental illness incline in this nation, along with psychoactive drugs, which are a very, very dangerous thing that's being introduced to our kids. And so I think there's been more political divide among social media that creates an ideology where, like, it's one side versus our side. So a lot of these people see the right as the wrong side, and if you're on the right, you see the left as the wrong side. We have kind of lost this middle ground in our nation, so this divide just keeps getting wider and wider.
Yeah.
And it also contributes to, like, mainstream media. I mean, we don't really have, down the line mainstream media is relatively available.
Right.
We have leftist media, right?
We have
right
echo
media.
chambers.
Exactly, and people like to hear themselves reconfirmed, and so people don't want to hear, your guys' discussions because they're like, oh, I want to be confirmed in my opinion, even if I don't have backing or a good, evidence against my decision or my policy. I'm still not going to talk to you guys. I don't want to be proven wrong.
Do you think this is a left versus right issue?
That's a great question.
I think it is a human issue. I don't think there should be any left or right issues. I feel as all as Americans, we're all trying to do the best and live a pretty prosperous, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what we all want, and I believe there should be no left or right on that. It should just be those issues.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you think a 10-year-old can consent to throwing away adult sexual function?
Like, what do you want me to say to that?
The truth?
It depends on the 10-year-old.
It depends on the 10-year-old.
Depends on the person.
Oh
Not
my
everybody
gosh.
wants sex.
Off!
What?
Get the off campus!
When we're ready. When we're ready.
So I have a question for you. Let's take the example of a child who has maybe 3 other coexisting mental health comorbidities. Maybe this child has autism, maybe they have depression, anxiety, maybe they've been sexually abused. Maybe there's an eating disorder. This is the case for a lot of these kids who show up to the gender clinics. Do you think it's appropriate that we go straight away to blocking their puberty when they have these other things going on? Or to hormones as well, because these kids are getting cross-sex hormones oftentimes on their very first appointments. And even as young as 13, it does depend on the doctor and the jurisdiction and everything, but they're giving testosterone to 13-year-old girls all over the country. Should we do that, or should we be first looking into other mental health comorbidities?
I'd love to
and
see your
trauma and
studies
abuse?
on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love, if you can show me
Sure.
that children all across the world are being
Absolutely. I can send you whatever you would like. If you want to give me your email, or you can reach out to me through Twitter.
Hi, do you have any idea that recording people in a public area puts a lot of people at risk? You realize there are a lot of students here who might not want their family to be able to see
They don't
them.
have to talk to us.
You are recording us in a
You're
public area.
Coming up, you're literally in the shot.
With their consent.
The EMU, that is the union.
Yeah.
That is the student union.
You're also going to get people on video who do not necessarily want to be on video. I am a lot more comfortable.
If you guys don't want to have a conversation on camera or anything, we don't need to have the conversation.
I'm a lot more comfortable being on video because I'm already known in the community for doing stuff. There are videos of me out there. I don't particularly care. However, there are people that you are catching on video that might not want to be.
And they don't need to hop in our video
Yeah,
and talk to us.
no one's forced to
Are not
talk.
stopping the video with all. Have you asked every single
All right.
one of these
Here's
people in the
the
background?
situation.
Do you want to have a conversation,
Can
or
I
are we just
address
trying to
that quickly?
shut down the conversation?
Let me just address that. So this is a public space, and there is no expectation of privacy in a public space. I understand that you
hold
don't
on.
like it. I understand you don't like it, but guess what? That's okay. You don't have to like
So
it.
you say that people who could possibly be harassed by
Who's harassing anybody?
you realize people here. I'm sorry, you think that no one in this entire university has maybe a restraining order, has people who they don't want to see.
We're wasting our time talking about this
How
right
did
now.
the conversation go? We're having a conversation with you. How did it go to filming? Why are you taking it off of the subject? She was just talking.
I don't care.
The practice today is to simply affirm a child. If a girl says she's really a boy on the inside, whatever that means, they go to these gender clinics, these children's hospitals, and they're given a drug. It's never been approved for this purpose, but it stops their bodies going into puberty. It actually stops girls from producing estrogen and boys from producing testosterone. So without those hormones, their natural secondary sex characteristics don't develop. So girls' breasts won't grow, boys' penises don't grow, girls' hips don't get wider. They're losing bone density when their bones should be getting stronger. Then they're given the opposite sex's hormones. So girls get testosterone, they grow beards, they get a deep voice. That causes vaginal and uterine atrophy. They have to get hysterectomies. These drugs and hormones combined are sterilizing kids, causing permanent, irreversible damage that they cannot undo.
And I'm going to go back to this top part right here. We're talking about children here.
Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't matter what you think. We're going to keep filming. So if you're unhappy about it, that's okay. You can be unhappy.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
saying, you want to talk about children can't consent to this, to do this. You think that we can't consent to...
No touching, no touching.
We can't consent to transition, but we can consent to being recorded without our consent.
What is your argument? We want to hear it.
Well, one, children are being... so you say children cannot consent to being put on puberty blockers.
That's right.
What are your opinions on the fact that in all of the laws prohibiting children from being put on puberty blockers, there are explicitly exceptions put in those laws about intersex children?
Yeah.
So you think that children can't be put on puberty blockers unless they're intersex?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Do you want to have a nuanced conversation here?
A lot of people are medically transitioning intersex children against their will at birth.
First of all, this has nothing to do with
No.
kids.
Different conversation.
Do I get to speak? Okay, you asked me a question. Would you like an answer?
Yes.
This isn't about children born with disorders of sexual development. That's not why I'm here. Those children make up 0.018% of the population. It's got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about children who don't have these conditions, who have been deceived to believe that they were born in the wrong body just because they don't conform to sexist regressive stereotypes.
Okay.
The same number of people who are intersex directly matches
This isn't about intersex. I'm not going to go along with these whataboutism arguments.
brought it up and you also
I didn't bring it up. You guys brought it up.
She actually brought it up.
I'm not here to talk about intersex.
Pronouns are he.
I'm not here to engage in whataboutism. I'm here to talk about this issue. This issue isn't about intersex kids. First of all, what does it mean for these kids to be trans? Just because they don't conform to stereotypes? Just because a girl's a tomboy, she's now an actual boy? That's totally insane. The body positive message we should be sending is that there's no right way to be a boy or a girl.
What do you think about that? Do you agree?
I agree with that.
Don't you think, or do you think, that children, kids, we should make them wait till they're adults to make the decision of going through what he just talked about? Is that controversial of a stance?
I think it's controversial when you get to a point where parents want to control their kids. Like, essentially you can say, like, yeah, children can't consent, but at the end of the day, a mom could say, it's like, it's my child.
Are they allowed to abuse their children?
Some people may not see it as abuse.
No, legally. I mean, are parents, because it's their child, they're not allowed to do anything they want with their child. Is that correct?
We have to be honest about the reality of our life. Like, a lot of things aren't fair, right? Like, we can say, you know, it's not a legal thing to do, it's abuse, right? But at the end of the day, it's some stuff that parents do that might not be right.
Right, and as a society, we do, legislate, like, morality when it comes to you can't beat your child, you can't murder people, you can't do all sorts of stuff, right?
But some stuff like this, yeah, it may be like, some parents may be like, I agree with that, and some parents may be, it's my child.
If parents say it's okay, and so they get the puberty blockers, whatever they want, and then they decide later on that they regretted that. Is that your fear? Is that they're gonna decide that they made a mistake?
So,
it's a good question.
My premise is that blocking puberty in children is child abuse. Parents do not have the right to abuse their children. They don't have the right to feed alcohol to their 10-year-olds, to start them smoking. They don't have the right to give them tattoos. But they have the right to now stop the healthy, normal physical development of a child who can't possibly understand what they're signing up for, that's child abuse.
What do you think about that? What do you think about what he's saying right there?
I disagree personally,
Okay,
but
and why is that?
With it, you disagree with this?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you mind if I ask why you disagree with what he just said right there?
I just feel like if if kids in general like know inside of them that they don't conform with whatever, I feel like they should be able to make that decision for themselves and then face, if they regret it, if they decide that it's not, I feel like they should be able to face the repercussions of that later on.
This is the most important thing, and I want us to slow down here. If children don't conform, is what you said, right? Beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. What's wrong with that?
Right.
My position is that there is no right way to be a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
I am a person with an intersex condition. What is my gender according to you if gender is what body you're born in?
Well, my expression is that there are two sexes, there are 0 genders, and there are infinite personalities.
Yeah, and I have about
That captures the entire population.
And I have about 200 of them. God bless.
You want to engage in this whataboutism. Every single child ever born with one of these disorders of sexual development is still male or female.
That's actually not
incorrect.
Oh, really?
Yes, according to a professor
According
here.
to a professor here.
Yes. What's your opinion on the professionally developed gender dysphoria diagnosis in the DSM-5?
Yeah. So what does it say?
It
says that gender dysphoria starts with young children.
It actually.
And what's going on today with all these adolescents?
It
this
very
condition,
much does not. Have you read the DSM-5?
So if you ask me a question, would you like me to give the response, or would you just like to
I
cut
would
me
like
off?
you to respond with correct information.
Sure. So gender dysphoria is real. Traditionally, this affected 1 out of tens of thousands of children, not 1 out of tens like we see today. And it starts young. And when you look at all the academic
I would
studies,
just like to know where you're getting your studies from. Yeah. Because you keep
I've got a whole bunch on my website if you want to go
We can
look.
send them to you after the conversation.
Sorry, you can't cite yourself as an academic source.
It's not myself. There are academic studies on my website. They're from PubMed or
What
wherever.
academic studies?
Go look. It's billboardchris.com.
I don't want to go to your website.
And I do want to say, just on the subject of, do parents have the right to abuse their children? And certain people will look at this in different ways. But we have medical authorities now in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and England who have conducted systematic reviews of all of the evidence. Not politicians, these are the medical boards. And they found there is no evidence to support transitioning children. There's no evidence that it is improving their psychology or their happiness. It's really just causing irreversible harm.
Right.
So I know there's a debate about whether this is child abuse or not. I'm very confident in 10 years' time, we will all look back at this and say, what the heck were we doing to kids? Sterilizing children. They couldn't possibly understand what they're signing up for. So I firmly do believe that this is child abuse. And I do believe eventually even the medical bodies in America, which are pretty ideologically captured at the moment, that they'll do away with this.
Hey, do not hit people's gear. What are you doing? You're wearing a sign that says "Don't engage" as you smack.
As you
camera.
engage.
Are you serious?
Do we need to call? Do I need to campus? Do I need to call campus police?
No.
Okay, take your bike and get out of here.
Yeah.
There you go.
need to get out of here.
Off!
What?
Get the off campus!
When we're ready. When we're ready.
So, how do you feel about this subject?
I feel like in 50 years from now, we're going to be looking back on it like we do with bombs.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm a high school student. I'm just visiting today, but
awesome.
God bless you. This is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
What makes it right for a law to say that certain children are forced to transition because the society doesn't like how they were born? But
no one's forcing anyone to transition.
I was forced onto hormones at age 12. Nice try. That is an extremely common thing that happens to intersex.
So what's the name of your DSD?
Why do you think you have any right
yeah,
to know
you
that?
Well,
don't,
she's talking about this.
My
She's making
pronouns
this
are
a
he,
subject
they.
of the conversation.
NCAH, also known as non-classical congenital adrenal hyperplasia.
Okay. So.
It's a disorder of sexual development. It is one that does not appear at birth. However, it is recognized as an intersex condition. It is akin to congenital adrenal hypoplasia, which is a normal intersex condition. It appears in infants with XX chromosomes and gives them ambiguous genitalia and hyperandrogenism.
I got you.
and it actually affects up to 5% of the traditionally female population.
So it impacted your estrogen production?
Yes.
So they gave you estrogen?
Yes.
Right.
Without my consent.
Okay, but you are female though, so they gave you estrogen.
No.
Well, you are. You're XX. You're female. You don't know that. If you as a little girl were a tomboy, which half of women were, if you wanted to climb trees and play in the dirt and throw out a football and play with the boys, you're a beautiful girl. But this whole ideology, the flaw with this entire ideology from the outset, is that it teaches that it's things like the toys you play with that are a determining factor in your gender. And it's not just me saying this. I've got the doctor of the most prestigious gender clinic at the top-ranked children's hospital in the country, Boston Children's Hospital. Her name's Dr. Jeremy Carswell. She's on video talking about how it's things like a little girl trying to pee standing up, a little boy who doesn't want to get a haircut, playing with the opposite gender toys, or trying on a sibling's clothing. These are a sign your child is transgender. What the heck do toys have to do with your gender?
We had a woman
That's
yesterday.
so regressive and sexist and ridiculous.
I just want to point out one thing that's really important in this conversation is the first word in the billboard.
Yeah.
He's not telling people who are consenting adults, an 18-year-old. He's strictly talking about children.
Yeah. And non-conformity does not require a chemical castration drug.
My very good friend is someone who has complete adrenal insensitive syndrome.
All right.
Was born with female genitalia. Was born produces estrogen levels akin to that of women. Has XY chromosomes.
I'm still
So-
maybe I'm not tracking the conversation.
this
I'm
doesn't have
we got a
anything
little
to do
bit
with
off.
this.
I'm trying to figure.
This is a
Okay,
common
we'll go back to
tactic trying to change the subject from
The reason
children who
puberty
don't
blockers
have disorders of
exist-
sexual development to intersex
No,
conditions.
it's called
Because
the
they can't
reason
actually
that-
discuss this
Okay,
subject
so
at hand. They have
let's.
to change the
Is
topic.
it possible to talk about this as opposed to
Yes,
something
because
else?
do you know why puberty blockers exist?
Yeah, I do.
Why were they made?
They were made to treat prostate cancer and then endometriosis and uterine fibroids in women. They've also been given to sex offenders to chemically castrate them. But they've never been approved for this purpose.
That is untrue.
Of course it's not.
So,
I still
really
would
quick,
like to
what is
talk
the
about
truth?
this.
Really quick, could you tell us the truth on it?
That is a reason that puberty blockers were made. Puberty blockers are regularly used in conditions in which children develop early puberty. So when people
Yeah, they've
talk,
been given to kids for precocious puberty.
Yes.
So precocious puberty is a condition where girls under the age of 8, boys under the age of 9 are entering into puberty. Again, this
And
is
you
a
know
what
why those
again, this
happen.
is whataboutism. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about
but
here.
if you're
I'm not
if,
talking about
but
kids.
if children can't consent to puberty
If you
blockers,
could please
why
stop cutting
can't
me
they?
off, that would be wonderful. That's how we engage in a proper
Skipping
conversation.
puberty and delaying puberty would be much different.
I don't see how a child cannot consent to puberty blockers.
Do you think children can consent to sterilization?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, consistent.
Do you think children can consent to throwing away their adult sexual function?
Yes.
At what age do you define children?
If you're a child, no child under the age of 12 or 13 is going to be put on puberty
Of course they
blockers.
are.
The most
they
a
are.
child that I would like to see your source.
You've done
with
no
someone-
research at all. Do you know when they give these? At 10 or stage 2. Do you know what 10 or stage 2 is?
Do you know what?
Do you know what 10 or stage 2 is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's when it's the second stage of sexual development.
And what age are these children?
That depends.
9,
entirely.
10, 11? For
That's-
girls, this is when their breasts have first started to form. It's about 2 years before they've had their period. So for them, they're going to be like 9 or 10 years old. For boys, they're going to be about a year later. And the whole point of giving these kids these puberty blockers is so they don't enter into puberty, because that would be too traumatic. If I were to steel man your argument, it would be, well, we must give kids puberty blockers at the earliest possible opportunity. Otherwise, they would start to appear more like their sex. And then they won't pass as well when they're an adult. And this would be traumatic for them.
Okay.
So they give these to kids at 10 or stage 2. So that is 9 or 10 or 11
You
years
think that's
old.
too young?
Yeah, I mean, they still believe in Santa Claus at that age. You think that's totally fine for them to make that decision?
So a
as
second
child?
ago, it wasn't happening. Wait. A second ago, it wasn't happening that they were giving these to 10-year-olds.
I
10
don't
seconds
agree
later,
that
it is happening and it's good. Is that your position?
I don't agree. You said a hypothetical in that.
It's not a hypothetical.
According to me, if everyone was given that, and okay.
You were denying that that was happening, though.
It
Why
isn't-
was that?
It isn't happening. You're putting words in my mouth.
I can show you a video right now from the president of WPATH, where he talks about all the boys who were given puberty blockers at 10 or stage 2.
If it were
have
happening,
never
would
had
that
an
be a bad
orgasm as
thing?
an adult.
Yeah, if it were happening, would that be bad?
That entirely depends on the context in which it's happening.
Are orgasms a medically necessary thing? Like, do we need them to happen?
Oh, so you think a 10-year-old can consent to not having any adult sexual function? Yeah, we'll back up a little. You think a 10-year-old can consent to throwing away adult sexual function?
Like, what do you want me to say to that?
The truth?
It depends on the 10-year-old.
It depends on the 10-year-old.
Depends on the person.
Oh
Not
my
everybody
gosh.
wants sex.
But there's another issue here. This isn't 1 out of 10 or 20 or 30,000 anymore. It's 300,000 kids in the United States have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Those are official diagnoses for like insurance purposes. This has exploded. We've seen in the last 10 years approximately a 4,000% increase, or 40 times, in the amount of kids who didn't have gender dysphoria growing up, but get into adolescence and now have it. We call this rapid onset.
Or is it awareness about the issue?
So we call this rapid onset gender dysphoria, and today it's primarily affecting girls, not boys. And there's one article I would love you to read.
Transmasculine people.
So there's one article I would love you to read. It's by Jamie Reed, R-E-E-D, and she was the case manager at the Washington University Transgender Clinic for the last 4 years. She wrote for the Free Press, and she submitted an affidavit to the Attorney General of Missouri. This is a woman who calls herself a queer woman. She says she's politically left of Bernie Sanders, and she's married to a trans man. So this is not some conservative. This is a woman who went there to help trans kids. She wrote this scathing report where almost all of these kids, she admits, have other mental health comorbidities going on. Some of them are coming straight from the psychiatric unit. A lot of them have suffered abuse, sexual abuse, or trauma, and they don't get treated for any of this. They just get affirmed only, and on their very first appointment, they're getting puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones.
Wait, I'm kind of confused. Sorry, I'm like kind of lost right now.
It's okay, it's
That's
okay.
all right.
It's complicated.
All I'm really saying is a lot of the times these kids have other things going on. They're struggling. Do you remember being 10 years old?
No, because
I
of
do.
severe trauma. Because of people like
I
you.
do.
Yeah.
I remember being 10. I was old enough to know a lot about real world problems. You know why?
Why?
The first time I tried to kill myself, I was 10 years old. The first time I got sent to treatment, I was 10 years old. The second time I got sent to treatment, I was 15. I was in treatment for 2 years. Actually, about like 4 years of my life were spent in treatment, in and out of treatment facilities.
I have a question for you, actually. If
Sure.
a child needed an emergent appendectomy, and you
See, this is all they have is whataboutism.
and
Do you know what a logical fallacy
can
is?
you please
Do you-
stop
what is a logical
interrupting
fallacy?
me?
What is a logical fallacy?
You are talking
I am
first.
talking. I am
It's a
literally
total waste
talking.
of time.
Oh my
You want to
God.
make this about appendicitis now.
But you rely on a medical professional
That's a
to
medical
make...
condition.
Oh
Is
my
pu-
God.
Is
And
puberty a medical
intersexism
condition?
and gender dysphoria?
Is puberty a medical condition?
Yes.
Natural puberty is a medical
yes,
condition.
Yes, it is, because it is a medical process.
Puberty is a medical process.
Yes, it is.
How so?
Because it relies on chemicals to help
Is
the
breathing a
child.
medical process?
Yes.
Is your heart beating a medical process?
Yes!
I think they
So everything's a medical process.
I think what you mean is a biological process.
And what field of study does
No,
medicine
no,
take
no.
place
So
in?
are you using the word? Are you using the word biology as a synonym for the word medicine?
This is about making lifelong decisions to alter your body, to sterilize yourself, to throw away your future adult sexual function. And we expect 10, 11, and 12-year-olds to be able to make this decision. You know what I mean?
It's a very hard conversation for sure. Like,
Well,
in the
thank you for
future-
being here and
Yeah,
having
thank
it, by
you,
the way.
thank you. Do you think that there's a prescribed opinion or a narrative or a set of opinions that you feel either from your faculty or fellow students or the administration that you should have?
No, not. I feel like faculty, especially, I think, because one of my English teachers, she's very like into stuff like this that talks about, essentially stuff that in the future we really have to sit down and think like, is this a good thing for our future, our future kids and stuff like that. So it's a situation where everybody has their own opinion. It's not something where we have to have an argument about it.
Yeah, there's a proposed narrative along faculty, and as far as it pertains to this. I know it's not in the exact question, but you just said is there a kind of Yeah. So yeah, there is.
And what is? Thank you for saying. What is that now?
And I actually want to jump in really quick. I think one indication of that there is an approved narrative on campus is the fact that people can walk by, protest, laugh, stuff like that. But every single person that's been in support has been quiet, walked by, agreed, left.
And said, I don't want to be on camera.
And said, I don't want to be on camera. So back to Peter's question, what is the narrative?
Yeah.
Well, just for instance, I'm a PR major, which is public relations. It's a lot like marketing, and I have to take a gender studies course. And it's it's all about these issues.
Gender studies course? So you have to take a course on leftist ideology?
100%.
Are they selling it as fact, or are they selling it as ideology?
They're selling it as fact.
Okay.
Yeah, they're selling it as fact.
I
And it
just
has
wanna get
nothing to
this
do with marketing.
a little louder. So you're studying PR.
Yeah.
You have to take gender studies?
Absolutely have to take it. And you know what? Of course, like, you should respect people and do it, but I don't know why I had to spend all these hours each week in this course. Some of the stuff is okay, like, all right, interesting. Some of the stuff is out there, it's outlandish.
What they're teaching you, are they saying that it's fact?
Yes. I am a PR major, and it has absolutely nothing to do with PR. I get being respectful and learning about, but it's out there.
Are you hearing what he's saying?
Yes.
And do you agree with him?
I mean, it's essentially what I said. Like, everybody has their own opinion and kind of lays it on you as like
A little bit different than what you said, though, because he's saying there's more systemic approved narrative on campus.
Well, for me
Do you
personally,
see that or no?
I would say in my field, no, because there's no room for it.
But so he interfaces with the public as
Right.
part of his,
Yeah,
right? Is that correct? I don't put words in the
correct.
mouth.
Yeah. It's a lot like marketing, and I'm in this class now. It's at 8 a.m., so it's a hard way to start the morning.
What if your child is telling you, like, I really, really, really want this for myself, like, deeply, and it's not something that's like I feel like
So-
comparing it to alcohol or drugs or
It's a great
something that
question.
it's
Yeah.
different because
No, it's a great question.
it doesn't it's not as dangerous if you do it with the right doctors and the right people, and you can do it safely. And so
let me address that.
Wait, so like once they do that and they become super happy and they feel like that's what they want, it doesn't really affect. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
It doesn't really affect like anyone else, really, besides them.
We have studies, academic studies, into gender dysphoria going back decades. So gender dysphoria is this condition, it's this intense loathing of your biological sex. Historically, it affected boys much more than girls. 1 out of tens of thousands, depending on the time period, maybe 1 out of 30,000. And all the academic studies point to the exact same results, which is that more than 80% of the time, these children with severe gender dysphoria from a very young age that persisted into adolescence, that when they went through puberty, it desisted. They grew out of it.
What percentage is that?
The most recent study, and one of the most thorough ones, followed 139 boys from the age of 5 all the way into their 20s. 87.8% of them grew out of it. 63.6% grew up to be gay.
Okay, so what about the ones that didn't grow out of it?
That's a good question.
So,
We got to listen.
Yeah, we got a good one. Yeah,
as
that's
an
a good
adult,
question.
this is a different conversation. If they want to do something to their body as an adult, I wish them all the best.
Okay.
But when 90% of kids are going to grow out of it, we're going to now sterilize these kids.
You look like a.
Why do you want to mutilate and sterilize kids?
So I don't. I'm just saying you look
No,
like.
do you have an argument for this?
No.
No, you have nothing intelligent
No,
to
I'm
say.
just saying. No, I don't.
So why are you insulting him then?
Because he just looked like a.
You just do that to random people?
Yeah, sometimes.
Even if you agree with them, maybe?
Oh, I don't agree with that.
What is your evidence for your position?
I didn't take a position.
Well, you just said you didn't agree with it.
No, I said I.
You just took
You
a position.
literally said.
Okay, you're right. I did. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Not in relation to him looking like.
Okay.
But
Well,
you think we
what
should sterilize kids?
what is it that
No.
you disagree
Well,
with
that's
about
what these are
this?
doing.
I don't want to get into that right now, just
But that's-
because
that's what
I.
that's
You don't
yes.
want to have
He's-
discussion
I don't-
on the
I don't wanna
subject
have
because you
a
know
conversation.
absolutely nothing about
Yes.
it.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you go to insults because that's what you've
Because
been
you
taught
don't have
here on
evidence.
campus?
Do you have any
No.
evidence for
No,
the
no,
position?
no, not on campus. No.
Jeez. That's rough.
I don't even have parents, bro.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Always this trigger word, safe. Stay safe, as though there's something inherently violent about words.
Cheese.
All right, everyone, that is it for today. So we had a handful of interesting conversations. Let me know what you guys thought about these conversations down in the comment section below. Gentlemen, we'll go Chris first. What did you think about today?
Outstanding. We had so many great conversations, and we've started 1,000 more conversations. So that's the best part of the day, and it was pretty peaceful.
Yeah. Peter, what do you think?
Chris summed it up absolutely perfectly. I think that the people who came out to protest, I encourage that behavior. It was great. We had a lot of people with sincere questions who came.
Yeah.
And I think Chris is, again, absolutely correct that this kind of, whatever it is that you call what we're doing, raising consciousness is going to start more questions, and then the whole spiral of, hey, well, why is that the case? Can children consent to puberty blockers?
Creating 1,000 more conversations. You guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time I post. Wait, really quick. Chris, where can people find you on social media?
At Billboard Chris on Instagram, and Twitter is where I do everything.
Awesome. And Peter?
At Peter Boghossian, PeterBoghossian. Thanks.
But you think it's fine to stop other boys from going through puberty? You think they should grow up to have a micropenis for life?
I think having a micropenis, that's some people's issue.
Well, that's what happens when you put kids on puberty blockers. Did you know that?
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know.
What do you think?
I'm not
puberty
taking anybody's
blockers
word
do?
on anything.
So you know nothing about this, right?
No, that's what I'm saying.
You know absolutely nothing.
That's what I'm saying. This sign has nothing to do with me coming over and calling you.
You just said you disagree with the sign.
Yes, I do disagree with it.
So tell us why.
I have a backed up position on it, which I can't give you right now.
Okay, so then you just why not just say I don't know rather than saying I disagree?
I don't know.
Oh,
that's fair enough.
That's totally reasonable. That's a totally reasonable position.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm saying you being out here with these signs doing this is making you look like a.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Cool. All right. Well, have a great one. Enjoy yourself.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for saying hello.
Hey, guys, enjoy yourselves. Have a great
Thanks for
field
saying
trip.
hello.
Have a great field trip.
Thank you for saying hello.
Hey guys, I gotta give you a quick message.
I'm so sorry. No, we're not. My students need to go.
Oh.
We gotta get in touch with
It's always the adults who want to censor things,
It's
right?
interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
That's okay. At least your kids know what biological reality is.
She was not happy. She was
Say,
not happy.
Stop freeing their
Honestly,
minds.
Peter,
Yeah.
I said this the other day, it's going to take the children to lead a lot of the adults out of this.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I know we mentioned social media before, but a lot of it is also those adults. He says it wrong.
So
adults keeping these children down,
I think
keeping these
that-
children down,
I
and pushing
think-
their ideology on
So
them.
I think this is great with them holding that sign. I think this was a democracy.
Absolutely.
I think that everybody's entitled to hold any sign that they want.
Absolutely.
You know what? The counter protesters, they're telling us that we're loved. Actually, these are the nicest counter protesters ever, if I'm being honest.
I gotta appreciate that.
And I
Thank
do
you.
appreciate that.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since
Thank
my
you for
parents died, almost no one tells me that except my dogs.
Oh
so
my
thank
gosh.
you.
Peter's getting dark over here.